Daredevil Born Again is no longer set in the MCU, therefore it's not important. Except that's literally not what Marvel Spotlight is, and some people still don't get it. So Marvel Spotlight, the very same banner that Echo is releasing under, will be the very same banner that Daredevil Born Again is releasing under, which makes sense. It's more violent, it's more adult, it's more brutal, it's more bloody. It's not going to be your standard MCU fare. So the fact that it's going under the Spotlight banner makes all the sense in the world. It's more adult oriented. Now where people get confused is that every time a website is posting about this, they're talking about how Marvel Studios is essentially setting up the Marvel Spotlight brand as a non-important factor in the MCU. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Because Marvel Spotlight is important to the MCU, it's just not mandatory. So there's a difference. So think of it this way. Daredevil has been made canon. The Netflix stuff is canon. When you saw Daredevil pop up in Spider-Man No Way Home, or when you saw just Matt Murdock, or when you saw Wilson Fisk pop up to confront Kate Bishop, they still acknowledge the Netflix stuff. Even if you've never seen it, these characters now exist. Their stories, their moments exist, they're just not constantly referencing them, because it was for a different audience. That's what Daredevil Born Again is going to be. It's in the MCU, but the events of that show are not going to have the biggest ramification on everything. Yeah, you're going to watch Spider-Man 4 and, oh my god, Mayor Fisk? New York is run by Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin? Cool. But you don't need to watch Daredevil to have that be a huge impact. Because in that film, he's just going to go, I hate superheroes and I want to clean up this town. Why? Well, if you watch Daredevil Born Again, you're going to know that he goes up against Daredevil. So when Daredevil shows up in Spider-Man 4, he's important, just like Wilson Fisk, but that entire history of how they got there is in this completely brutal thing that if you watch adds more context, but it's not required viewing because they can easily catch you up with it. And that's the beauty of Marvel TV and always has been. To me, Runaways and Cloak and Dagger are in the MCU, but their events aren't important to the bigger picture. They don't need to show up in Endgame. They don't need to show up in Secret Wars. They can still exist out there and their stories unfolding or wrapped up or they're just doing whatever, right? It's the bigger Marvel universe. Daredevil will bring in Marvel cameos and he's going to appear in other projects. Daredevil Born Again is in the MCU and it's Marvel Studios. It's just under the Spotlight banner because they're looking to tell a different story that can't fall under a PG-13 branding, which is exactly what Marvel Studios is. So the Spotlight banner has a age up, so it's age-gated, but also people know what it's consistent of in terms of blood, violence, and all this. It's a different branding, and that's it. It's still in the MCU. And elements of its story will be felt elsewhere. They're just not going to be the biggest thing ever. Like, Kang isn't going to show up at the end of Daredevil Born Again and be like, well, I'm setting up Secret Wars right here, right now. That's not what Spotlight is for.